Goodison felt that way for people who came there. I don't know if new modern stadiums are made for that type of close proximity and all those things which go with making it a sort of fortress. But I have to say, at the moment, we've started well. Couple of good victories, and we've had a draw as well. So hopefully we can keep picking it up and keep it going.
I think that this is going to be. Listen, there is no game this season, including the Merseyside derby, that David Moyes will be more motivated to win than this one. Given what he did for West Ham, given that he's their most successful manager in Premier League history, and the fans basically said, we want something more sexy. We want something more invigorating. Am I allowed to say sexiness?
Yeah, you're allowed to. I get it. Sexy.
and I think as far as he is concerned, he will have every single one of his players ready to inflict even more. I don't think it's personal. Personal in so much as he would have been hurt that they didn't really appreciate what he did for that club. I think the owners did. The owners wanted to keep him, but a lot of the fans felt that maybe he had run his course. And so this is going to be very interesting. They've been through 3 managers since he left. None of them have been the answer.
I mean, he's getting his own back, you know, because Everton have made a good start. They're certainly looking better than the club who wasn't sure if they were going to start life at Hill DickinsonStadium in the top flight. And, you know, in terms of scoring goals, in fact, let's look at this time last season and what Everton are like now. Just thinking about their, you know, top half of the table. And this was Everton after 5 matches in 2024-25 under Sean Dyche. They'd not won a single game and had 4 defeats, and with just 1 point on the board. Right now, they've won 2, drawn 1, and lost 2, and are currently in the top half of the table. And as I started to say, they look like they're scoring more goals, largely down to the man that Darren mentioned, Jack Grealish. He's creating.
Yeah, it looks like a much happier place, and I think, you know, mood reflects a lot that's going on within a football club. I think Sean Dyche did a lot of good. You can't dispute the start to last season was poor. But I think he did a lot of good. He had a lot of his philosophy and, you know, principles are about discipline and being structured and being organised, and I think the team benefited from that. I think there's a lot of that David Moyes has taken and he likes and he's similar ideas with, and he's just probably tried to turn the dial in a few different areas to just give them a bit more confidence, create a bit more intensity of how they play. Of course, bringing in somebody like Jack Grealish is going to bring you natural quality. I think Ndiaye has great quality, and I think he's relishing the opportunity to play alongside someone like Jack Grealish. He knows he's got somebody else up there who's going to get him the ball, going to look for him. He can combine similar understanding and feel for the game. So, yeah, there's lots more to be positive about. I think there's a little bit. I think David Moyes, I agree. I think he'll be relishing and looking forward to the opportunity to play against West Ham because naturally, you know, they were hard. The fans were harsh towards him, given what success he brought. I think that comes a little bit of pressure, though, because actually going into it, you're saying, well, Everton should win that. And that's not always the nicest place to be going into a football match in the Premier League, because everyone can hurt everyone on their day.
That's why we love this league, isn't it? They are still unbeaten at home.
I think those players are first-team players, and, you know, we expect them to perform whenever they get the opportunity to do so. So, you just need to ask them that, probably not me.
I just wondered if it's a case of reinforcing the message that they need to be ready to take those opportunities when it comes, because you often said that.
Well, I believe they are ready. I believe they are ready. I think Wolves, many changes did Wolves make?
They made similar amount of changes.
9, I think Wolves made, so, you know, they won the game, so sometimes it's the result that matters more than anything.
Obviously, there was disappointment on Tuesday night in the League Cup. What sort of reaction do you want to see from your side against West Ham on Monday?
I just want them to keep continually doing what they've been doing. They've done really well, so we don't need to look back too far. We move on.
First of all, just sort of, you know, you speak about that realism there, that things aren't always perfect. I think some of the fans felt really disappointed, as you did as well in your post-match interviews on Tuesday. When you're looking at this now, is it difficult as a manager to balance cup runs, players knocking on your door who want to play, and getting runs together? How are you balancing in that? And does that mean sometimes it doesn't always come off?
No, I've got nobody knocking on my door. It's my choice, my decision, who plays. I play the people who I think are ready to play and look as if they're prepared to play. So all my decision, nothing to do with them, my choice. And you know, the players who we've been picking for most of the games have been playing really well. So don't get that wrong.
Do you think just because of the cup exit, it's felt that the headlines have been more negative than they need to be? Because I was looking at the stats, and I think it was 4 shots on target, both sides, but obviously just 2 went in for Wolves. So has it felt a little bit worse in the headlines maybe than it has in here?
No, because I've not looked. I told you I've moved on really quickly. The minute it happened, I've moved on. Got my head on the league games coming up, and can't do anything about it now. So no point in discussing it really.
Yeah, no doubt, though, that the trouble is with West Ham. I think many of us are looking at the team, firstly, at the rate at which they're conceding goals, and that is very concerning and would be very concerning. Every week we're talking about Potter's future.
Yeah, which doesn't obviously make things any better. That won't help the environment within their camp. That said, the goals they can...
Last time out, they played at the Merseyside derby. A lot of fans were frustrated, Darren, that they didn't start the game in the way they played a little bit later on when they got that goal.
Yeah, I wonder if the players were affected by something David Moyes said beforehand. He said he hates the Merseyside derby. All of us love it, but he said that he hates it because Liverpool always have so many resources. Their record against Everton is so good, and it's always a little bit of a chore because no matter how hard they try, Liverpool have always got that one touch of class to undo them. That's what happened in this game. They had a couple of touches of class, actually.
Yeah.
But I think as far as Everton are concerned, there were moments in this game that were, for me, the real Everton. But they came out, they showed a bit of character. But then there were moments that, and I'm referring to the Merseyside derby, not what we're seeing here. These moments we're seeing here indicate that, for me, are the reasons why I think they'll win on Monday. They haven't conceded a goal at the Hill DickinsonStadium yet. They've beat Brighton, they drew with Aston Villa, and a rejuvenated Jack Grealish is going to relish running at the spaces, for me, that are going to be left in behind by the West Ham side.
A lot of them from set pieces, as I'm sure we're going to see now.
Yeah, which these are things you can naturally work on and get better at. And, you know, that is, it's one thing as a fan to be like, we want to look at the philosophy and the style of play and chances created. You have to have a foundation, though, when you don't have the ball, which will be in every game. You make it difficult for teams. And, you know, this is one of these situations where teams are clearly doing their own scouting work and they're just saying, do you know what, let's just put the ball right on top of them because they don't deal with it, they don't attack the ball well. And that's like, when you look at the stat and the nature of the players, their centre-backs are strong and aggressive, good in the air. Yeah. They've got players like Souček. They have players within the, you know, Callum Wilson, when he's in the pit, like they've players who are aggressive and will go and head the ball. So these situations that they're putting them, you know, the pressure they're putting on top of themselves, they've got to be addressing that really quickly because those are situations you can address. You can work on that. Like that's, you know, we're not looking at going, oh, unfortunate, they've scored a worldie, that's just situations you've got to be better
I think that must be so frustrating, though, because as you mentioned, those are things they could be working on. And I remember after the Chelsea game that Potter said, you know, we weren't defensively disciplined, or we weren't organised, or we weren't looking after ourselves. I don't have any doubt that they would be working on that. So what do we think is going wrong? Because it's the same story game after game, 13 goals in 5 games conceded.
Yeah, I think they're finding it very difficult to retain their discipline and their concentration. The number of goals they've conceded from set pieces, as you've been saying, is alarming. They've lost 12 out of their 23 games under Graham Potter. When you look at Everton, what Everton will do is one of two things. They will look to attack them with free kicks and corners, given their goalkeeper looks like Superman every time the ball goes into the box. And also, as far as Ndiaye is concerned, Grealish will get in behind and put that ball across the 6-yard box because he knows that the players switch off, they don't hold the line, they're not concentrated enough. And it's lots and lots of individual errors. Like you say, there's no doubt that he's working with the players. There's no doubt that he's trying to drill them and get into them instilled a way of operating that will give them a chance. But the numbers suggest that the players are just not picking up what he is trying to instill in them. And that's the reason he's under pressure.
Yeah, and West Ham are second from bottom, as you mentioned. Graham Potter is under pressure. Well, he discussed the recent pressure he's under and his talks with the West Ham hierarchy.
Have you spoken to the higher-ups here about kind of where the team is this week? You know, the results, like you said recently, haven't been good enough. You understand the environment, you understand the noise. Have you had conversations around where the team's at the moment?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as we do every week.
Positive talks, or have there been?
Yeah, positive talks, but we all understand as well where we're at, and we all want to improve. You know, it's, as I said before, no one's happy with where we're at. At the same time, you have to look at the context and the situation, and you have to not get caught up in the noise.
Yeah, very tough to not get caught up in the noise.
He has to get caught up in the noise. The noise is important. The noise is the fans with the financial investment, the emotional investment. The noise is all of the people around the world. This is a global game. They're a club that aspires to have a fan base way beyond England. And so he has to be listening to the noise. He's got to be listening to the numbers. He's got to be listening to all the things that former players like yourself are able to look at and point out at a glance. And my understanding is that Nuno, the former Wolves boss, is in the frame for his organisation, his ability to be able to get discipline out of players, and also Billich, who previously turned West Ham into a side that competed for the European places, even knocked on the door for a time for the Champions League. They're two people who are very, very well liked by the club.
Yeah, we're already talking about who could be next in. Is there a feeling that time is running out for Potter? What would it take for him to buy himself more time? How can he turn this around?
Well, results, clearly. I think the worrying thing is, as we said, you know, we're seeing goals coming from errors that are sort of repeated errors, and that typically is, for these top players we're talking about in the Premier League, that's a mindset and attitude thing. And that's not a good thing when you're seeing these things happen. And it can be very subtle, and it's not because I think players are intentionally trying to do that. You know, I'm not saying they're sabotaging or against it, but there can be a subtleness to your willingness to want to go and really put your body on the line, go and head the ball clear, or go and just disrupt your opponent so they don't get a clear opportunity. These are little things that you sort of do when you're really invested and you're all in, you've got that faith and belief and togetherness, and those are just like the little signs that you start to go, it's not good that they're conceding similar goals that are very cheap.
Yeah.